All right, what is going on, guys? It's Matty here, and today we're going to be taking a look at what I believe is actually the new strongest deck in Pokemon TCG Pocket, or at least the strongest new deck to come from Triumphant Light. So I think that a lot of people did sleep on Arceus EX upon release and upon its, I guess, reveal early on a couple days ago. It's kind of appearing to be, in my mind, one of the best cards to come out in this entire expansion, one of the best cards in all of Pokemon Pocket. There's so many different ways that we can play Arceus, and I think that, we're going to see a ton of different deck lists, especially this weekend at the Ursa Days tournament. However, over the last 3 days or so, or 2 days really, there's been actually a lot of tournaments, pretty smaller tournaments, about 100 to 300 players, and the number one deck that's been more successful than any other archetype in this new format is actually Dialga with Arceus EX. So that's what we're going to be taking a look at today. Here is the deck list. There's a couple different ways and cards that you can include in this archetype, but today this was the deck that I am going to be showcasing, which has Mew EX, Dialga, Arceus EX, and the new Sky Support Shaman to help us retreat out just a little bit easier. I think that Shaman is a really good pairing with Arceus in a lot of different decks as well. In general, it's one of my favorite new cards to come from the expansion. Retreat cost is pretty steep in a lot of the strongest decks in the game right now. Being able to reduce that retreat cost is really significant. Of course, we're going to be leading off with Dialga, hopefully, and then using Metallic Turbo to set up both our Arceus EX or our Mew EX, depending on the matchup. And it's really a match made in heaven. I mean, what deck wouldn't be strong running basically all legendary Pokemon, Arceus, Dialga, and Mew EX? It's just really, really great. So Arceus EX, of course, can do 130 damage for 3 energies. However, you need your bench full. It's really not that big of a deal because if we're playing mostly basic Pokemon, we have 6 of them in the deck. We also have Pokeballs and research to draw into those Pokemon. But basically, one Metallic Turbo from Dialga should be enough to fully set up our Arceus EX on the next turn with an attachment. That's 130 damage if our bench is full. But on top of that, the Metallic Turbo attack from Dialga actually does 30 damage. So the 130 from Arceus can seem a little bit low, but when you combine it with the 30 damage from Metallic Turbo, that's 160, and that's enough to take a KO on almost everything in the format. 160 is a very, very good number. And if we go down, we have very few Pokemon in the deck, so we have a lot of room for really good trainer cards. In this deck, we're running 2 potions, 2 X speeds on top of the Shaman, or running X speeds with Shaman. That way, we don't have to play Leaf in the deck. We can open up basically this deck to be using other supporter cards on our turn that would be more useful. Basically, X speed plus Shaman is 2 minus 2 retreat cost. All of our Pokemon really have retreat cost of 2, so that should give us free retreat when combined together. Of course, Pokeball, we're running 2 giant capes to bring both Arceus and Dialga up to 160 and 170 HP respectively. A lot of HP, also Rocky Helmet, just a good card in general. And of course, we're playing Research with a Giovanni and a Sabrina and a Cyrus, all really good inclusions. In fact, I really do like Giovanni in the format right now, especially if you're playing Arceus. 130 is a bit of an awkward number, but 140 is much, much better. So it's going to help us take some KOs in a lot of different scenarios. This is the deck list. Like I said, in a lot of the online tournaments over the last 2 days, this deck has actually been more successful than any other deck. And I've tested it a little bit, and I'm actually really, really surprised. I think it's super, super good. Let's hop in, play some games, and yeah, we'll see if we can showcase this deck and basically show exactly what we can do here. I mean, I think a lot of people understand that Dialga is a pretty good card. It was good last format. I think one of the big downsides to Dialga was that we didn't have a great Pokemon to pair with it. Now we have Arceus, which is honestly one of the most consistent attackers in the entire game. And like I said, there's so many different ways to play Arceus. I think a lot of people are really high on the grass type right now, but I also like the dark type Arceus, and I like the water type decks. But I think if we're playing water type and we do start with double Dialga, which is pretty funny. And are we going first? Yeah, we're going first. Okay, so going first with Dialga is certainly not the most ideal. We would definitely rather go second with Dialga decks. That way we can get those 2 energies on Dialga 1 turn quicker than we would going first. Not the end of the world. We're going to go ahead and definitely slap this Rocky Helmet on Dialga since we're going first. That extra damage could be important. And really, all we need here is to get our Arceus and get our bench Pokemon. There's one Arceus. We love that. I'm going to wait to bench that other Dialga in case unless we need to later in the game if we don't draw our other Pokemon. The other cool thing here with this deck is that we're immune to status conditions, and that's actually fairly relevant in a couple of niche matchups that we might hit right now. But mostly speaking, we have single basic Pokemon that have a lot of HP, and it can be pretty significant. It can be a really, really big deal. Basically, a lot of the format right now is moved away from sort of a one-shot meta. Things are very tempo-focused right now, which I think is healthy for the game. Oh, we are going to actually get attacked here by this Eevee. Let's see, how many heads does this Eevee player, flip here? That could be definitely pretty bad if he flips a bunch of heads here. The thing is, okay, so that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What? What is going on here? Okay, this is not the showcase. What? What is going on? Really? Listen, I don't do gameplay a lot on the channel, and this is why, okay? Whenever I'm trying to showcase a deck here, okay, and this dude goes like a 1 in 500 chance and flips 8 coins with his Eevee. That is very unexpected, I will say so. I don't even know what to say, honestly. We're gonna ride this out, but I don't know how we can possibly recover from that. I'm being entirely honest. I think what we have to do here is probably start just committing to the Dialga. I don't think committing to the Arceus is actually smart here. It's never worth our time to do that. We do have an X-Speed in hand. We're gonna just attach that giant cape here. I don't even know what to think. What just happened? What is going on? This is literally the first match. I press record, I go to play this video, I go to do this thing. Now we have a Leafeon. We're gonna get attacked here on our second turn. This is great. This is absolutely wonderful. It's exactly what I wanted recording gameplay here. I'm gonna leave this in. I'm gonna leave this in because listen, this is the Pokemon Pocket experience. Yes, we're playing what I am calling the best new deck in the game, but unfortunately, it just doesn't matter when Eevee goes ahead and hits you for 160 damage on turn 1. That is just absolutely unreal. I've never experienced anything like that in my entire life. Let's attach this energy here. The problem, honestly, is that he might just have Cyrus in his hand, so you know, that's certainly going to be a problem, I would say. Let's just Giant Cape this this guy here. We don't have another X-Speed. We haven't found Shaman. It would have been good to be able to Metallic Turbo this turn, but unfortunately, I just don't I don't know how we're possibly going to recover here unless he just, you know, never draws into his Cyrus. I assume he definitely has a Cyrus in the deck, so we're going to take an attack here on this Arceus, and he's probably just going to go ahead and Cyrus us up on the next turn. We do have another potion, but he's going to bring us down to 40, so it really just doesn't matter. I'm pretty sure basically since we got one hit KO'd by that Eevee, I just don't think there's really anything that we can do because I assume he's probably just going to have Cyrus in hand. But you know what? We're going to just go ahead and ride this out here. Hey, a Giovanni, that's cool. Okay, so unfortunately, we do have to attach and retreat here. Not ideal at all, if I'm being honest with you. But you know what? We're playing this out. We're gonna showcase the deck to the best of our ability. Man, I honestly, let's just play the Giovanni because why not? This is a really, really fun Leafeon deck. This is one of my favorite decks in the format. It's basically double healing. You're playing water energies with Leafeon. I think this has a really good chance to be one of the strongest decks in the game as well. But technically speaking, from a tournament, you know, competitive perspective over the last few tournaments, here comes the Cyrus. I already know he has it. Oh no, he's just gonna Irida. That's fine. So 2 Iridas as well, and this is really what comes down in this deck is that it's just so much healing every turn. You have Irida, you probably have Erika's. Now, this deck isn't always the most, I guess, consistent off the starting point. Leafeon is really, really good, but again, if you don't get that Leafeon on turn 2, you are going to struggle, and he is playing Yanmega, which I actually do like as well. And yes, unfortunately, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to take some pretty significant damage here. 70 is not great for us. It's a little bit unfortunate. If we had another Pokemon on our bench here, like another Arceus or even a Mew-EX, we could, you know, commit those energies to them. I think that would be pretty good, but yeah, unfortunately, we're just not really drawing anything that we need. We're gonna go ahead and just Metallic Turbo again. And yeah, we're in definitely a really, really tough spot here. Not really drawing the Pokemon that we need to. Our opponent definitely got a lot luckier this game than we did. But you know what? That's the Pokemon Pocket experience. I'm definitely leaving in this video because that was a hilarious clip. I don't even know how that happens or what exactly is going on here. But technically speaking, okay, there's the Yanmega EX. So yeah, that's going to be the game. Unfortunately for us, we got absolutely rolled in this first game. But you know what? It's okay. It happens. I know we're showcasing a deck. It's supposed to be really strong. It is, okay? Trust me. This is a very, very good deck. But in scenarios like this, you know, that continuous step Eevee, it's going to get you sometimes. I don't know if I've ever been hit for 160 damage. Like the perfect, if he hit for like just 1 less, I think, or 2 less, we would have lived because we were at like 150 HP or something. That was crazy. That was absolutely insane. You know what? Listen, kudos to my opponent there. Shout out to Ronaldo for flipping like 9 heads in a row with Eevee. That's absolutely unreal. Let's hop into another game here, okay? You know what? You get unlucky sometimes, and it's not like you know, we're auto winning, right? You know what I mean? Like, even though we're playing a deck that is really, really good and is, in my mind, the new strongest deck or one of the new strongest decks, we're starting with Mew EX again, and no Pokeball, no research, and no other Pokemon. Great start, for sure. At least we're going second, though, so maybe we have a chance here. Here's another continuous step Eevee. I am absolutely terrified. I'm not gonna lie. But like I was saying, even though we're playing a really, really strong deck, that doesn't mean that we're gonna, you know, win every game here. You know, I only have so much time to record the gameplay, and I'm not gonna spend all day like, you know, cherry picking the game. So listen, sometimes you lose, sometimes you win. Hopefully we can win the next 2 games and have a nice, like maybe a 50-50 record in this video. But again, you know, I'm sticking to my guns. I don't like to edit out gameplay. It's just, it doesn't, you know, it's not super genuine, right? I like to be at least somewhat genuine in you know, the gameplay that I'm showing here. Okay, we see the Shaman. No, yeah, so this is just tough, basically. Like, going second, no Dialga. We have 2 Dialga in our deck. We've barely seen them at all in this video, but we are just going to go ahead and we're going to Rocky Helmet here. And I think the best thing to do is actually just going to be able to attach to the Mew EX. We're not going to do anything else here. We're not going to play an early Sabrina. I don't think it gives us any additional benefit to play that early Sabrina. And yes, we're playing Steel Energy in the deck, so Mew EX isn't a great lead. Okay, so the Vaporeon comes out. If he has a X speed here, he could go into the Manaphy. That could be pretty scary for us, but we're actually just going to see the Misty here. He's probably Mistying to the Vaporeon, of course, so that he can move the energies around. Let's see here. He flips Tails. That's actually really important for us, so nothing crazy happening this turn unless we get absolutely exploded again by Continuous Step Eevee. I'm actually kind of terrified. After that last Eevee, I'm not super confident that we aren't just going to get one-hit KO'd by these Eevees in this video. That's 1 heads, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What is going on? What is happening in this video? What is going on? How is this possible? How this is 2 different games. This is literally, how is this possible? What are the odds that I record this video? I've played 3 games, and 2 of them have been absolutely destroyed by Eevee on turn 1. Literally, how does this happen? Like, what are the odds that that happens? I don't even know. It's got to be literally astronomical because I've never seen anything like that in my entire life. This is absolutely insane to me. I just don't even know how to comprehend what is actually happening. I'm at a loss for words. We still don't have any Dialga as well. What on earth is going on? I don't know. Like, I don't understand. How? What? What? Twice? Both times? We've seen 2 continuous steps attacks in this video, and for a total of 18 heads in a row. Like, how? Like, how does that even happen? And he's gonna go ahead and probably flip 12 more heads with Misty, and now I get 2. Okay, that's totally fine here, unless we see a Glaceon and we just get KO'd, and then that's the game. I think we need to start playing Continuous Step Eevee. Maybe Eevee is just the best Pokemon in the game. Maybe that's just the reality of it. I don't know what's going on. I really don't. But unfortunately here, if he has Cyrus, then we just lose this game anyway. There's nothing else that we can really do here. And there's a Giovanni, so that's pretty fun, right? Isn't that great? Yeah, there's nothing else really to do here other than, I guess, lose this game because, you know, we just got absolutely wrecked turn 1. There's literally nothing we can do here. Oh, man. Man, oh, man, this is just crazy to me. How does this happen? Like, I just don't understand. I don't get it. What are the odds? Actually, can somebody do the math in the comments here? He's got Cyrus in hand anyway. We got absolutely rolled. I'm not lying. This isn't like, these are the only games that I've played. I've only played a couple of games so far in this video. I'm just trying to get some gameplay. I'm just trying to get some gameplay here to showcase this new Arceus Dialga deck. And I can't play the game because we keep getting one-shotted by, you know, these Eevees that just can't flip tails. It's like, you know, how does that even happen here? Well, thanks for that. Yeah, we'll say thanks to the opponent. That's cool too. Game number, whatever, I forget, honestly, after getting bodied by Eevees over and over again. Let's try and showcase this Metal type Dialga Arceus deck. Like I said, in the format right now, or at least in the last 2 days of competition, this is the deck that really has, we're going second and leading with Dialga, which is pretty good. But we don't necessarily have a target yet, but maybe we'll draw into one. There's the Shaman. We're definitely going to bench that Shaman. So, yeah, this is the deck that's actually won more than any other deck. We're playing a Tentacool, which is kind of interesting, for sure. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, I knew that, you know, Arceus and Dialga would go together really, really well. I honestly didn't expect anything different. Once we saw Arceus, I was like, oh, great. No, this is a really good card. It'll work really well with Dialga. But I think with the combination of Shaman and just a lot of the other stuff. Okay, another Dialga. We're going to bench it. I think with all the other cards in the format, it just kind of makes a lot of sense, I think, for... We're not going to play Sabrina yet. It just makes a lot of sense, I think, for this deck to be as good as it is. I think that it's just consistent enough. The 30 damage with Metallic Turbo plus the 130 from Arceus is pretty significant. I think that it's actually a really, really decent number here. He's going to hit us and take 20 damage here. If we have Giovanni, then I'm not going to play Sabrina. I'm just going to take the KO on the Tentacool, but I think it's probably better for us to play Sabrina so we don't take any more chip damage with the Rocky Helmet. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to do that. We don't have an Arceus, unfortunately, to Metallic Turbo onto, but I guess we can just Metallic Turbo onto another Dialga. It's not terrible, but it's not great, but at least it's something. So that is better than nothing, I would say. We are going to go ahead and just Metallic Turbo onto this Tentacool. This is a pretty interesting deck here. Again, we're not playing against anything that's like particularly metagame, or I guess it's really an off-meta deck. It's not necessarily something that you'll see in a competitive setting. But hey, you know what? I don't have all day to be playing Pokemon Pocket games. I mean, to be fair, I'm probably going to play like 5 or 6 games and showcase the ones that I think make the most sense. Okay, so the potion is actually really interesting. But the Rocky Helmet's going to put him, I think, in range anyway, so I don't know why we played the potion there. Shout out to Ken, though. I appreciate the effort. Giant Cape is interesting. Let's go ahead and put it on this Dialga. Why not? And I think, honestly, what we're going to do here is just keep attaching to the active. I don't think there's any reason not to. We'll just take the KO on this Tentacool. Unfortunately, he hasn't found a Tentacruel yet, and that's pretty rough for our opponent here. I don't think this is a good matchup for our opponent, if I'm being honest with you. But you know what? We ride out. We do what we got to do here. And yeah, but I really like a lot of the new decks. I think that Triumphant Light really did. Okay, here comes the Misty here. We could see a Mamoswine fully set up. That could be pretty scary. The cool thing about Triumphant Light is that it doesn't really feel like they added like brand new archetypes that are like particularly, super incredibly like meta defining. But what they did do was they added a lot of cards that I think are really good in a lot of the already existing. Okay, our opponent's going to concede here. Definitely a tough game for our opponent. What Triumphant Light did was added a bunch of new Pokemon that are actually really significant and good, but they are cards that you kind of plug in and you basically update a lot of the archetypes that we already had in the game. So I think that's totally fine. I think that's probably what we can expect more so from the mini sets, is more of an expansion to the full expansions. For example, of course, we had Space Time Smackdown, which introduced a ton of awesome new archetypes. In fact, really the metagame is dominated by brand new Space Time Smackdown archetypes. And now I think a lot of them have just been updated and maybe changed a little bit. Of course, Arceus does, like as an attacker, can be used in a lot of different ways. And I think we're probably going to see it a ton over this format. But I'll be really interested to see as the weeks go on what ends up being really the top decks of the format. Okay, so we're leading off here with Arceus and Shaman. We're going first, which obviously isn't great. Now, one thing that again I didn't realize was that Shaman has to be on the bench for its effect to work. So leading off with Shaman is never any more useful than leading off with Arceus. It's just sort of how it goes here. Unfortunately, though, we are going to take a little bit of chip damage from this Darkrai. It's not really the end of the world, if I'm being honest with you. But we'll see here. Okay, so Pokeball and Research. We're going to play Pokeball first, for sure, because I would like to maybe draw into an X-Speed or something like that. Okay, so we don't find the Dialga. Definitely kind of want that Dialga earlier than later here, I would say. But let's go ahead and see. We have another Research and a Potion. Okay, pretty interesting, I would say. Let's Giant Cape the Arceus right off the bat. Giant Cape and Potion of these first couple turns is going to be pretty important here. Do we bench the second Arceus, though, is the question. I don't think that Mew EX is going to be really good against this particular deck, so I am going to bench the second Arceus. And we're just going to hope here that maybe we draw into a Dialga coming up. Now, we're playing against Darkrai, but Darkrai could be a lot of different decks, you know what I mean? There's a lot of different ways to play Darkrai. The cool thing about Darkrai is that it hasn't changed a lot with Triumphant Light. I know a lot of people are going to be running Arceus with the new Crobat in Darkrai, and I think that's a pretty good deck. I don't know if it's better than playing Magnezone. We'll have to see. I think that Water type is really strong in the format right now, Water and Grass, and there's a lot of healing, which I think both counter Darkrai pretty significantly. So I think Darkrai is probably going to be pretty reliant on playing Magnezone still. But, at the end of the day, Darkrai is just a really, really strong card, and there's nothing you know, there's nothing you can really say that's going to deter me from thinking that. I think that Darkrai will remain. Oh, another potion. Can we draw a Dialga here so that we could maybe attach to it? That would be pretty cool. Okay, there's the Pokeball and the Mew. Okay, so now we're guaranteed for the Dialga. So it took basically everything for us to get this Dialga down, but we are going to do it. I don't think we're going to use this Mew EX here in this game. We are just going to go ahead and play this potion. We're going to keep this Arceus healed up. And this should be good so that next turn we can Metallic Turbo and all our Pokemon will still be at full HP. Although we still need the X-Speed. We have 7 cards in deck. We haven't drawn into an X-Speed. We're not able to retreat unless we have X-Speed, even with Shaman in play, because I don't want to attach to the Arceus. So here comes the Misty. We're actually playing Poliwhirl, or Poliwrath, which is an interesting deck, I'm not going to lie. And the Misty flips tails. So he is playing Water Energy in the deck with Dark, which is something I wouldn't necessarily recommend. I think if we're playing Darkrai, you probably just want to play Dark, if I'm being honest with you. So no X-Speed. That's pretty unfortunate, actually, that there's 6 cards in deck and we don't have either of our X-Speeds. The reason why we played 2 X-Speeds in Shaman is to consistently be able to get out of the active spot. But unfortunately, it just doesn't look like we're able to do that next turn. Our opponent also has Water Energy, so I guess it's really not the end of the world. We're just going to attach to the Arceus and then pass. Yeah, you know, it is what it is, I guess. And there's the Poliwhirl. These Water Energies are going to get set up here. Another Druddigon as well. Let's see exactly what happens this game. We are able to one-hit KO Druddigons, so that is something at least. This is a very interesting deck from our opponent. Like I said, I don't think that this is like a great way to play Darkrai, personally, in my opinion. Man, I wish we could just get some good games against like other like actual meta decks, because the only 2 like meta decks that we played against were unfortunately, okay, all right. Still no X-Speed, so let's just start attaching to the Arceus here. I would have attached to the Arceus turn 1. I probably should have, but I assumed that we would have drawn into an X-Speed by now. I guess that's probably wasn't I guess, of course, a safe assumption, but I guess we just have to pass again. The next turn, technically, we can KO the Darkrai in the active spot, so there is that. I guess there is a silver lining to all of this, which is happening here. And again, this is sort of the downside, I think, to playing Water Energies in a Darkrai deck, is that you really are reliant on, you know, attaching those energies to Darkrai, using it as sort of the primary attacker. And, okay, so he is actually just going to retreat. Okay. That's totally fine. I'm not too worried about it. Oh, we do see the Poliwrath set up now. Okay. So there's something at least. And there's the Dialga. Okay. So I think we're just going to start attacking here. I know we are going to take a little bit of damage here from the Rough Skin on the Druddigon, but I'm not too stressed about it. I think we're in a pretty decent spot. And like I said, I think, again, we still don't have an X-Speed, but if we do draw an X-Speed next turn, he's going to go into this Poliwrath and hit us for 80. I think what we probably do is just go into Dialga and Metallic Turbo, maybe start setting up a second Arceus. Again, we might not draw the X-Speed, to be honest with you. We probably still make that play, even if we don't. And here's the Sabrina, which is very interesting. I guess we'll just give him this Arceus. I don't know. I don't understand that play, I guess, if I'm being entirely honest with you. I guess it's probably not a terrible play. I just don't know if it really benefits him that much. But I guess, I mean, you know, what can he do, right? He does take 20 less damage. Oh no, if we attack him, we take 20 damage. Okay, that's how that works. I was gonna say, I was a little bit confused. No X-Speed, still no X-Speed is crazy. So now we have to attach, and yeah, we are just gonna retreat and go into this Arceus and do some damage. That's really all we can do at this point. What do we want here? What do we want to do, I suppose? Interesting, isn't it? I don't think Potion really does anything for us, to be honest with you. We do have a Dark Energy coming up, so we got to keep that in mind. But our opponent really just doesn't have that many options when it comes to attacking next turn. So I think, honestly, I don't think we play anything yet. And we are just going to hit for 130. 130 is a really, really consistent number to attack with. Like, I think some people looked at Arceus and they thought it was a little underwhelming, but to be fair, like on a basic Pokemon for 3 energies, doing 130 is a lot of damage. For example, like Darkrai does 80 damage for 3 energies. Even the new Garchomp, which is a stage 2 Pokemon, does 100 damage for 3 energies. So it is pretty significant. And yes, here he is going to bring us down to 100, but really not the end of the world, I would say, because next turn we can just, retreat, go into our Dialga and Metallic Turbo and take the KO here and set stuff up for the next following turns. We're in a pretty decent spot, I think. There's the X-Speed, finally. That's pretty funny. Yeah, let's go ahead and do this now. We probably do want to potion up the Arceus, just so that basically, even if we get like Cyrus, he can't just KO us next turn. Well, he can't anyway. He can't even attack next turn, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But yeah, we are going to potion this up just so that it's out of range of Nightmare Aura, if that does end up being sort of a scenario here. Let's Giant Cape the Dialga, and we'll attach to it, and we're just going to Metallic Turbo and ride out like this. So the way that this deck really should work most of the time is that, you know, we set up with Metallic Turbo, and then we basically soak up a bunch of hits, and we just set up our Arceuses to then sweep later in the game. Unfortunately, like, if we're not able to get the Metallic Turbo off quick enough, or if our opponent like has the ability to attack for a lot of damage early on in the game, on like turn 2 or turn 3, then it can be kind of rough. Like, there are scenarios where this deck can lose, but to be fair, I think that the Dialga Arceus strategy is super consistent from a damage output perspective, and then Shaman with X-Speed is actually a really good combo. It fills up the bench to do that damage with Arceus. Mew EX is a secondary attacking option in case we need to use Mew EX, so it can be pretty useful as well in those scenarios. And then, like I said, I think the retreat is just really consistent. Let's play one more match here. Try to get some better gameplay. I want a really good match, at least one good match that's close and that we end up hopefully winning to include in this video. So let's go ahead and see what we can do. I'm definitely leaving in those first couple games against Eevee because that was just something. I don't know what it was, but it was something for sure. A very interesting hand to start with. You know, Arceus, X-Speed, and Pokeball. So technically speaking, you know, we might have a pretty good avenue, but we'll have to see. We are going first again, which is just in general pretty unfortunate, I think, for our deck. I think we've gone first most games here, although we do draw the Dialga, so there is some hope here. There is some hope, I would say, but we'll see. So we're going against a water type deck now. If it's Palkia or something like that, it could be pretty interesting. I think that Palkia with Irida right now is actually really good. I think that it also walls a lot of decks in the game, but it actually is just really explosive. Yeah, okay, so we're going to see Palkia here, and yeah, Pokeball. Okay, so we're probably going to see the Eevee come down. So our opponent has basically as good of a start as possible, leading with Manaphy, getting Palkia and Eevee down on the bench, with the Giant Cape as well, and again, going second, so he's going to be able to Oceanic Gift first. So our opponent is getting basically the perfect start here. One of the scenarios that I think in Pokemon Pocket right now is as scary as possible is, again, a Mew EX. That's actually going to be very good for us. Kind of exactly what we want here, if I'm being entirely honest with you. We are just going to go ahead and attach to the Mew EX. We're going to go ahead and Giant Cape the Arceus just to kind of put it at a range of potentially getting KO'd. And yeah, we're not going to bench the second Arceus yet. Again, if we don't draw into Shaman, then we don't have a way to retreat out, but Mew EX is really good in this particular matchup, again, because it basically just gives us that ability to, you know, have that kind of revenge KO option. We can copy Palkia's attack. There's the Vaporeon. Very scary, so we are going to get attacked this turn. If he has an X-Speed, he doesn't. Okay, that is good for us. That means that basically we have an extra turn to set up this Mew EX and potentially, you know, attack with that Palkia. So that's going to be definitely really important here. And again, I think we just have to commit this energy to the Mew EX. I don't think there's really anything else that we can do. Pretty terrifying, actually, because if we see a Giant Cape come down on this Palkia, then we are just completely out of luck. There's really nothing else we can do here. The Sabrina comes down, that's fine. You can just take the KO on the Dialga. I'm not really too worried about that. I'm really not. Because we're just still going to KO Palkia with Mew EX, and then hopefully we have a decent bounce back here. Unless we see Giant Cape come down, that could be very unfortunate for us. He did attach the Giant Cape to the Manaphy, which definitely was a misplay. That's my opinion. Certainly, in my mind, was a misplay. Now, this is a really interesting scenario, if we're being honest, because, you know, this Mew EX doesn't have, like, a ton of HP. You know what I mean? Like, we are taking the KO on the Palkia here, but, like, what are we doing on the turns after that, right? That's what we kind of have to keep in mind here. Let's definitely Giant Cape the Mew EX here and take the KO on the Palkia. But after that, like I said, we're just in a kind of a really awkward scenario here, but we can go ahead and genome hacking, and we are going to Dimensional Storm. This is going to do the damage to the bench, which is actually very significant, which is going to put, you know, this Vaporeon kind of in range, really, no matter what. So, yeah, we're at least surviving, but the dangerous part here is that if we see another Palkia, he could just get that Palkia set up almost completely, you know, early. Okay, so the Misty's comes down. This is an interesting one. If we don't see a Palkia this turn, I'm not like super afraid of it, but the thing is we don't have a great backup attacking option to KO this Vaporeon. Like, we can Sabrina and bring it up and hit it for 60 damage, but after that, there's really not a lot that we can do unless... This is interesting. You're doing 60 here. Ooh, Rocky Helmet, I guess, is interesting. It doesn't actually really help us, though. Let's bench the Arceus, and yeah, we kind of have to just go ahead and commit energies to this other Arceus here, I believe. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter. We could have probably just committed energies to this Arceus, but yeah, so this is an interesting one. I think, honestly, I kind of want to just copy... I think we kind of want to just copy Oceanic Gift. I think that could be actually really clutch, right? Because... yeah, I think we're just going to copy Oceanic Gift so that next turn we can just attack with Arceus, and I think that's kind of GG. Mew EX really coming in clutch in this particular matchup, I would say. And that's the cool part about Arceus is that we can, in this scenario, I guess, copy Oceanic Gift and then have our Arceus set up for next turn. So our opponent is in a really awkward spot here. Unless we see a Palkia come down, I think we just win the game. But if the Palkia does come down, then we lose. So, you know, we got to kind of keep that in mind for sure. But technically we have game on board. We have our win condition set. Do we see the Palkia come down? He's got 6 cards in deck, so it would be actually pretty unlucky for him to not have another Palkia. We got a little bit lucky, I would say, for sure. I mean, our opponent did have the perfect start, so you got to keep that in mind as well. You know, you can't have, yeah, there you go. You can't have the perfect start and then also the perfect ending, right? It's got to be balanced at least to some degree. So there we go. We do have the Arceus ready to go here. Well, let's bring it up, and we will be able to take the win here with Arceus EX, doing 110 damage on the Manaphy. So GG, there it is. We almost got bodied this game. Again, we got pretty lucky that our opponent didn't draw that Palkia, but again, he also had the perfect turn 1 and turn 2. We just got pretty lucky as well drawing into the Mew EX, but a very good matchup. And again, I think this really does showcase how good Mew EX can be. I think that Palkia and a lot of other decks where Mew EX is good against, they're still going to be pretty viable in this format. So shout out to Mew EX and shout out to this deck, a really, really fun deck, at least when you're not getting 1-hit KO'd by EVs on turn 1. That is not fun, as we've seen in this video. Holy cow. Very interesting. Very, very interesting video here, and the games that we played were pretty interesting. I'm going to go ahead and just thank my opponent, and we're going to wrap it up there, I think. I think we got enough of showcase here in the video. Hopefully you guys found this entertaining. I don't do a lot of gameplay videos on the channel. Most of the time, I think people understand how to play the deck. So Pokemon Pocket to me is a lot more about, you know, what decks to play and how to construct your deck based off of, you know, the current metagame and the current format. So that's typically what I like to focus on, is talking about the metagame and talking in theory about the decks and the matchups. But I do want to do more gameplay on the channel. So if you liked this video, if you have any recommendations of other gameplay type videos that you want to see in the channel, I would really appreciate if you comment down below and let me know. But anyway, guys, don't forget to like this video and subscribe and support the channel. I really do appreciate it. The support has been crazy over the last few weeks, so I really do appreciate it, guys. Have a good one. Peace out. We'll see you guys tomorrow. And again, on Monday, we have Meta Monday, and then on Tuesday, we will have our initial first Triumphant Light new meta tier list. It's going to be really, really exciting in the upcoming days. I really cannot wait. So anyway, guys, peace out. Have a good one. We'll see you guys tomorrow. And yeah, bye.